round, and Jeff, 3 more to go.
And it should be a great evening. We've got a chance to have 3 teams that are returning state champs finish as state champs again as undefeated state champions. The crowds again have been great. We are going to break the all-time attendance record, maybe even get to 100,000 fans this weekend.
The Class D1 championship is next between Falls City Sacred Heart and Maxwell, and we'll be back with that after this break.
Good evening and welcome to the 1989 Boys State High School Basketball Tournament. Hi everybody, this is Jeff Schmall along with Dick Janda to bring you the first of our final 3 games this evening. The D1 championship tonight between the Maxwell Wildcats, 20-1 on the season, and the Falls City Sacred Heart Irish, 25-0 and defending state champions in D1. Running down the starting lineups for this evening as you see the Falls City Sacred Heart players being introduced. The guards, Buck Sells and Tom Witt. Steve Simon, a 6'2 sophomore, and the leading scorer for the Irish is the center. And the guards, Matt Kanabi and Raphael Darvo. For the Maxwell Wildcats, the guards, Randy Gilson, a 6-foot freshman. Rick Elliott is the other guard. Tony Miller is the center. Robbie Flood, who averages 17.6 points a game, is at 1 forward, along with Mike Roberts. Maxwell, who will be in the dark jerseys tonight, the black jerseys trimmed in orange and white. They are coached by Larry Gilson. Falls City Sacred Heart in the white, trimmed in green. They are coached by Doug Goltz. This is the Class D1 state championship game. Maxwell and Falls City Sacred Heart. And here to bring you the play-by-play is Dick Janda.
Falls City Sacred Heart in the white will be moving from left to right. And Maxwell in the dark uniforms, the black jerseys, will be moving from right to left. Tony Miller for Maxwell will jump center against Steve Simon of Falls City Sacred Heart. The defending D1 champions, #1 again this year and 25-0, and we're underway in the 1989 D1 state championship game. From way outside, a 3-point try by Tom Witt, and a whistle and a foul. As 10 seconds into the game, our first foul of the game, as Rudy Storr and John Crows are our officials for this D1 championship game. That foul was called on Raphael Darvo of Falls City Sacred Heart. 4 starters and the 6th man are back from last year's state championship team. Falls City Sacred Heart has 31 straight wins and has gone 48-1 over the last 2 years. Another foul call. This time it's going to be on Robbie Flood. He is Maxwell's leading scorer. Flood averages 17.6 points a game, although Maxwell has 4 players that average in double figures. The Wildcats start 2 seniors, 2 juniors, and a freshman. Falls City Sacred Heart starts 2 seniors, 2 juniors, and a sophomore, so they are young too. And Buck Sells puts it in for the first 2 points of the game. Falls City Sacred Heart breaks the ice and lights the board with a 2-0 lead. Maxwell's lone loss this year came in overtime to SEM, Sumner Eddyville Miller, in the 4th game of the year. So both these teams have pretty long winning streaks, and it's turned over by Maxwell as it goes out of bounds, and Falls City Sacred Heart will bring it up.
And although Falls City Sacred Heart averages beating their opponents by almost 30 points per game, they won 2 games this season in overtime.
Shot is off the heel, and Miller comes up with the rebound. 6'6 senior Tony Miller averages about 14 points a game, and he has scored 44 points in the first 2 tournament games thus far. Maxwell in the dark uniform, almost getting it stolen away. To get here to the finals, Falls City Sacred Heart defeated Lindsay Holy Family in the first round, then defeated Fairmont 81-64 in the semifinals last night. Maxwell beat Beaver City 74-61 in the opening round, and then beat Potter Dix 64-50 in the semis last night, and Potter Dix had been unbeaten at 21-0 going into that game last night.
The basket by Flood will not count. The foul before the shot on Matt Kanabi. This is definitely the matchup of Maxwell's size inside against the speed and quickness of Falls City Sacred Heart.
For the game, the coaches told me that they both like to run. A three-point shot put in by Randy Gilson. He is the son of Maxwell head coach Larry Gilson, who has been at Maxwell. Recorded his 400th coaching victory this season for the Maxwell Wildcats. Maxwell leads it 3-2 on that three-pointer by Randy Gilson. Steve Simon. Oh, it will not go down, and Buck Sells gets the rebound. The follow shot is in. It will count, and he's fouled.
Steve Simon will be fun to watch. He didn't get that one to drop. One of the better young players in the state, just a sophomore. Buck Sells, only a junior. A fairly young team, Falls City Sacred Heart.
Here's another look at Buck Sells inside. And there you see the foul called on Matt. Check that. The free throw is good by Sells. And the foul was called on Mike Roberts of Maxwell. First foul on Roberts. 5-3, Falls City Sacred Heart with a 2-point lead just underway in the Class D1 state championship game. Traveling called on Maxwell's Rick Elliott, and Falls City Sacred Heart will bring it up. Both coaches telling me before the game they like to run, although Falls City Sacred Heart runs all the time. The Maxwell coach Larry Gilson said they would run when the opportunity presented itself. Simon can't make it go down, and the rebound comes to Robbie Flood, Maxwell's leading scorer. Now here comes Mike Roberts to Flood. Randy Gilson. The rebound to Tom Witt. Falls City Sacred Heart with all those returners from last year, and they still only start 2 seniors. Buck Sells in the middle. A foul. Foul will be called on Mike Roberts. There's Buck Sells. He will inbound it under the Falls City Sacred Heart goal.
I think they whistled that one on Rick Elliott as he kind of got him from behind a little bit. Third team foul on Maxwell.
So it's the first personal on Elliott. As we're 3 minutes into the first quarter of the Class D1 state championship. Grant in C2, Sutton in C1, and Hampton in D2 have been crowned champions already today. Sells, partially blocked perhaps, and Flood comes down with the ball. Falls City Sacred Heart coach Doug Gold saying that dealing with the size inside for Maxwell was one of the Falls City Sacred Heart objectives. Tony Miller at 6'6", a wide body, and Robbie Flood at 6'3", not to mention Mike Roberts at 6'2".
Well, they're doing a good job inside, though, against Tony Miller. He hasn't even touched the ball on the offensive end.
Sells with the rebound. Falls City Sacred Heart leading at 5-3. Nice fake and a nice shot.
Buck Sells, all 7 points for Falls City Sacred Heart.
And it's stolen away by Simon. Here he goes. And it's 9-3. Just under 4 minutes to go, first quarter. Miller finally gets the ball, and at 6'6", it's off the heel. The rebound to Simon. Back to Witt. And Flood with the rebound for Maxwell. It'll be Maxwell's ball. Rudy Storr on the call there, officiating in his last game. Rudy Storr planning to retire as an official after this game. There's timeout on the court with 3:38 to go in the first quarter, and the score in the D1 State Boys Championship is Falls City Sacred Heart 9 and Maxwell 3.
Midway through the first quarter, and it's obvious that Maxwell is going to have to find a way to deal with Falls City Sacred Heart's speed and quickness as Maxwell turns it over right there. And now we have the first substitution of the game. Kent Kanabe, a 6'2" sophomore, comes in for Sacred Heart.
Kent is a younger brother of Matt Kanabe, who started at one of the forward spots for Falls City Sacred Heart. Matt's a senior, Kent's a sophomore. Kent's They're both 6'2". Here's Simon. Simon says no, and Maxwell gets the rebound. The only points for Maxwell have come on a three-pointer by Randy Gilson, as Falls City Sacred Heart has opened up a 9-3 lead. The Irish have only lost one game in the last 2 years. 48-1 over 2 seasons. Flood.
That's what they need to do. Get the ball inside to Miller and Flood, and then get back on defense.
And look at Sacred Heart run the floor. Matt Kanabe with his first 2 points, and it's 11-5. The Irish on the break. Randy Gilson to Flood. Flood nicely off the glass. 4 points for Robbie Flood, and it's 11-7. Steve Simon. Tom Witt. Buck Sells gets his own rebound. And Buck Sells has 9 points already. 9 of the Falls City Sacred Heart 13.
Oh, Buck Sells is a good jumper. He's only 6 foot tall, but he's taking it in there against a 6'6" and a 6'3" kid, and the other one's 6'2", and he's just going right over the top of him.
Just under 2 minutes to go now, first quarter. Flood will try it from long range. The rebound comes down to Tom Witt. A mile a minute to Kanabe. Sells. And a 3-second call. 3 seconds called for Kent Kanabe being in the lane too long. Falls City Sacred Heart 25-0 this year. Maxwell 20-1 with their only loss coming to SEM in the 4th game of the year. Maxwell averaging 75.5 points a game. Falls City Sacred Heart 78, their average coming into the tournament. And a jump ball will be called. The possession arrow is pointing the way of Maxwell. Into the game for the Wildcats, Bob Norton, a 5'9" junior. And Rick Elliott goes out for Maxwell. Randy Gilson can't make it go, and on the rebound, neither can Bob Norton, but he was fouled, and Norton will go to the free throw line, I think, for 2 shots.
Kent Kanabe got him from behind.
Norton will get a second. He just came into the game. Flood has 4, Gilson has 3, and now Norton has 1 to account for the Maxwell 8 points. Simon with the rebound. Just a sophomore. This guy looks like a player. Buck Sells, they're going to call him for traveling.
Well, just watch how much faster Falls City Sacred Heart gets down the floor than Maxwell. Many times Falls City Sacred Heart will have all 5 of their players, and there'll still be a couple Maxwell guys lagging behind.
Falls City, of course, located in the southeastern corner of the state. Maxwell located pretty much toward the western half of the state. Simon puts it in. So 2 schools that are a long ways apart geographically. Of course, not having played each other and not having any common opponents. Sells on the fast break. 3-on-1. Tom Witt with his first 2 points of the game, and Falls City Sacred Heart has opened up a 17-8 lead. Biggest lead of the game at 9 points. 23 seconds left to go, first period. Maxwell has some catching up to do. There's Miller. Finally, they get it inside to the big guy. And Tony Miller scores his first 2 of the game, and it's 17-10. 8 seconds, 7 left. Here's Buck Sells. Stolen by Miller, 4 seconds, 3, all the way the length of the floor. Boy, that looked like it was on target for a minute, but it is not near the basket. That's the end of the first quarter. The score in the D1 State Boys Championship is Falls City Sacred Heart 17 and Maxwell 10.
This is something that Maxwell will need more often, getting the ball inside to Tony Miller. They have a big height advantage, but Falls City Sacred Heart owns the edge in the speed and quickness. And right now, it's Falls City Sacred Heart leading it 17-10, the Irish with the basketball.
A three-point try. Miller with the rebound. That was Matt Kanabe trying it from three-point land. Maxwell down by as many as 9, trailing at the moment by 7. Here's Miller. Nice turnaround, but it's off the rim. Here comes Falls City Sacred Heart. A mile a minute, Steve Simon.
He is so fast, Steve Simon is. He's beating everybody down the floor. He's listed as their center, but boy, I tell you, he's the fastest guy out there.
He's really got a lot of agility and body control, too. He can really move out there on the court. 19-10. Again, the 9-point lead for Falls City Sacred Heart. And Maxwell will keep control. It's knocked out of bounds by the Irish.
First quarter statistics, the big key one. Falls City Sacred Heart, 8 of 16 in field goals. That's 50%. As that shot misses, Maxwell only 29%, 4 of 14. And that one right there, the difference.
Now, what a young team this Falls City Sacred Heart club is. Way outside, a three-point shot won't go, but Simon with the follow. 8 points for Steve Simon, and it's a 21-10 lead, the biggest of the game at 11 points for Falls City Sacred Heart. Maxwell trying to get something going here. Flood will shoot. And the rebound to Simon. Look at these guys go. All the way. But it doesn't go down, and the rebound comes to Mike Roberts of Maxwell. Miller can't catch it on the other end, and here comes Falls City Sacred Heart throwing it into the hands of Norton. And now a foul will stop the action. Well, each team with 2 substitutes coming in now. Kent Kanabe and Jeff Schwang come in for Falls City Sacred Heart. They're both sophomores. And in for Maxwell, Lance Groseth, a 6'2 freshman, in for the first time. And Rick Elliott comes back in, the 5'10 junior. Randy Gilson and Tony Miller go out. 21-10. Falls City Sacred Heart leading by 11. But Mike Roberts is at the free throw line for 2 shots. He'll get a second one here. And Roberts is in the scorebook with his first point. It's 21-11. Simon to Buck Sells. Nice fake. And he'll go to the line for 2 shots.
I like that name, Buck Sells.
Into the game for Maxwell. New man for the first time. Travis Morrissey comes in, a 5'11 sophomore. Sells now has 10 points. First man in double figures. He had 9 points in the first quarter. 22-11. Again, the 11-point advantage for Falls City Sacred Heart. It's the biggest lead of the game, 22-10, a 12-point lead. And Sells has 11. 23-11 is the score. Bob Norton. Sells. The fast break doesn't work that time for the Irish. Here comes Mike Roberts. To Morrissey. Elliott out front. The freshman. This is Lance Groseth with the ball, and it's save right into the hands of Rick Elliott. And a whistle stops play. There's timeout on the court with 5:31 to go in the half, and the score here in the Class D1 State Boys Championship is Falls City Sacred Heart 23 and Maxwell 11.
Falls City Sacred Heart, a big 23-11 lead here early in the second quarter. And Dick, right now, Maxwell just really, they look outclassed out there on the floor. They cannot stay with Falls City Sacred Heart.
Maxwell down by a dozen here with 5:20 to go before halftime. Simon, cross court. Jeff Schwang has it go in and out for him, and cherry picking down court is Bob Norton. And Simon with the rebound. Now watch him go. Here comes Simon. Doesn't have the numbers this time. The rebound to Darvo. And Falls City Sacred Heart still controls it. Jeff Schwang with the ball.
Every loose ball, it just seems like they're hustling after everything, getting them too.
Simon and Schwang, and now Darvo. Buck Sells inside. 13 points for Buck Sells, and it's 25-11. Falls City Sacred Heart with its biggest lead now, 14 points. Flood follows it in. Robbie Flood with his first 2 points in the second quarter, and he has 6 now in the game, and it's 25-13. Simon. Kent Kanabe. Three-point shot by Darvo. Rafael Darvo with his first points of the game. That opens up a 15-point lead, 28-13. Now a foul called on someone from Falls City Sacred Heart. There's Steve Simon. Simon with the personal foul, his first. And Robbie Flood will be at the free throw line as both teams are now in the 1-and-1. Well, Falls City Sacred Heart has been number 1 all year in Class D1. Maxwell was number 5 in one newspaper rating, number 6 in the other going into the district tournaments. Buck Sells for Falls City Sacred Heart. Out top to Tom Witt. And putting it in,
Rich Holtz.
new man in the game, Rich Holtz, 6-foot junior. And Maxwell says, let's call timeout. We'll keep it here with 3:33 to go in the half, and Falls City Sacred Heart opening up a 30-13 lead. Falls City Sacred Heart leading it by 17 points now.
Condi Sargent with the Nebraska School Activities Association, Dick, just stopped by our desk right here, and he said that the old attendance record, which was set back in 1976, that was the first year the tournament was ever held here in the Sports Center. That total was 90,952. And a lot of people thought, well, they're never going to come close to that mark again. It has already been broken. With the crowd that has attended tonight already, that record has gone by the wayside, and I think we're going to hit the 100,000 mark, which would, boy, that would just be tremendous for this state tournament. 100,000 people for the 3-day extravaganza, and shows you just how popular high school basketball is, especially this state tournament.
The Class B and A games to go yet tonight. Pius and Wahoo in a battle of unbeatens. That's sure to bring in a few folks. And that's a rematch from last year's state Class B championship game that Wahoo won on a last-second shot. And then the A title game, Columbus and Millard South. It's a great showdown, too.
Well, I tell you, and yesterday, Columbus, there must have been 5,000-6,000 people from Columbus down here for that semifinal win they had over Alliance. And there we have another foul on Falls City Sacred Heart. I believe Buck Sells, the guilty party.
Second foul on Sells. Gilson will be at the line for Maxwell. He'll be shooting 1 and 1. Nope, 2 shots. 2 shots for Gilson.
I think right now Maxwell they probably don't feel comfortable in this game. That speed of Falls City Sacred Heart's making them feel like, well, I don't know if we can play with them. And until they can really set up and establish a good half-court offense, it could be a long evening for Maxwell.
Gilson now has 5 points. Just a freshman is Randy Gilson, the son of the Maxwell head coach, Larry Gilson. 3-point try. The rebound to Darvo, and he loses it to Flood. 30-15 is the score. Falls City Sacred Heart leading it by 15 with 3 minutes to go in the first half of play. Flood misses the shot. The rebound to Tom Witt. A reminder at halftime, announcement of the Class D1 Coaches All-State team. And it will remain in possession of Falls City Sacred Heart. Steve Simon coming back in. He had a little rest for the Irish. And Darvo goes out.
The thing I like about this Falls City Sacred Heart, only 2 seniors on the entire team, Matt Kanabi and Rafael Darvo, but they're bringing these guys off the bench, and they all look, they all look like they're 6 foot to 6'2", fast, can shoot. Just a lot of good ball players.
And there's a 3-point shot for Matt Kanabi. Give him 5 points and give Falls City Sacred Heart 33. Make it 33-15. The biggest lead of the game now, 18 points. Flood. That baseline shot just is not going for him tonight. And it'll be Falls City Sacred Heart's ball. Maxwell touched it last. Kent Kanabi into the game for Falls City Sacred Heart. Travis Morrissey back in for Maxwell. 2:11 to go before halftime. Simon. 3-point shot won't go, and a foul is going to be called on Rich Holtz for Falls City Sacred Heart. The man you're looking at there, I think, will be shooting the free throws on the other end, Tony Miller. There's Holtz, who had the foul. Miller, 6'6" senior, averaging about 14 points a game coming into the tournament, had 44 points in the first 2 tournament games. Miller now has 3 points on the night. And make it 4. Simon, he's open. The rebound comes down to Maxwell. Rick Elliott with his team trailing by 16, 33-17 here. Minute 48 to go in the half. 3-point shot, no good. Here comes Steve Simon. Look at him just run away from everybody. 10,
Guy's a player.
10 points for Simon, and it's 35-17.
Maxwell's in trouble if they try to get in this running game.
Down court comes Sacred Heart, and out of bounds with it is Holtz.
The key ingredient in most athletic endeavors, and basketball, this is really true, it's not size, it's not strength, it is speed. And Falls City Sacred Heart has lots of speed, and that is the telling difference in this game.
Gilson's shot won't fall, and the rebound controlled by Maxwell, but traveling called, and the Wildcats will turn it over again. Traveling called on Mike Roberts there, number 31. A minute 6 to go before halftime. Falls City Sacred Heart leading at 35-17. With a 17-10 at the quarter. We're under a minute to go now before halftime. Steve Simon. Three-point shot won't drop, but Simon gets the rebound. Here's Witt. Nice block. And now a foul is called on Rick Elliott. So it'll be Kent Kanabe at the free throw line for Falls City Sacred Heart. Into the game for Sacred Heart. There you see Jeff Schwang, 6-foot sophomore. Rich Holtz goes out. 1-1 for Kent Kanabe. First point of the night for Kent Kanabe, and it's 36-17. 19-point lead is the biggest of the game. Make it a 20-point lead, 37-17, with 36 seconds to go before halftime. Falls City Sacred Heart firmly in control. Elliott, and it'll be turned over by Maxwell. Coach Doug Goltz off the bench for Falls City Sacred Heart says let's play for one shot. 24 seconds left before halftime, and the Irish are going to play for one last shot here before halftime. Tom Witt. 11 seconds. Witt underneath. 5 seconds still left on the clock. 3, Flood. And that's the end of the first half. Falls City Sacred Heart opening up a 20-point lead. A 20-point lead for Falls City Sacred Heart right now, as they led by 7 at the quarter and now by 20 here at the end of the half. Falls City Sacred Heart dominating this first half of play.
Larry Gilson.
Oh, we welcome you viewers from channels 10, 11 who have been watching the Big 8 semifinal game. This is the Class D1 state championship, where at halftime, Maxwell is trailing Falls City Sacred Heart, the #1 rated and defending champion Irish at 25-0, are leading 37-17 here at halftime. And standing by is the Maxwell coach, Larry Gilson.
Thank you, Dick. Larry, a tough first half for your team.
Jeff, yes, we got intimidated. We got a few young players out there, and even though I realize Falls City's got young players too, but they showed maturity. They showed that they played 25 ball games, and we're out of sequence in about everything. Our offense isn't working right because of the pressure, and defensively we're falling down, and they're just great shooters. So we've got to do something different, try to get back in it.
What specifically can you try to do?
Change these and run one of our other patterns on offense, and defensively we're just going to have to go nose to nose now.
Okay, I know you want to talk to your kids. Thanks for stopping by, Larry.
Thank you.
Falls City Sacred Heart, a big lead over Maxwell at the half of the Class D1 state championship game. We'll be back with that Class D1 10-11 All-State team right after this. One of our new features here at the 1989 boys and girls state basketball tournaments has been the 10-11 coaches all-state teams. We sent out ballots to coaches from all over the state. We got over almost 200 responses in the boys balloting, and here now is the Class D1 10-11 coaches all-state team.
Making the D1 team at guard, Steve Simon, a 6'2 sophomore from Falls City Sacred Heart. Steve averaged 18 points and 9 rebounds per contest. At the other guard, Kevin Richer of Clearwater. Kevin is a 6'1 senior, and he averaged 15 points and 10 rebounds per game. In the middle, Ken Sander of Humphrey St. Francis. Ken is a 6'4 junior. He averaged 21 points, 15 rebounds, and had 101 blocks this season. At the first forward spot, Steve Hendricks of Polk Cordville. Steve is a 6'3 junior, and he averaged 24 points and 11 rebounds per game. And rounding out the first team, Matt Sheppers of Fairmont. He's a 6'2 senior and averaged 21 points and 9 rebounds per game. The D1 honorable mention players: Dennis Johnson of Potter Dix, Tony Miller of Maxwell, Matt Nobby of Falls City Sacred Heart, Kevin Sander of Humphrey St. Francis, and Stacy Nickel of Beaver City. And that's the D1 10-11 Coaches All-State Team.
Dick, I know when the ballots came in for this, Steve Simon, you don't really see sophomores make all-state teams very often, but Steve Simon got a lot of votes, and by watching him play out here, I can see why he made that first team.
Well, he doesn't look like a sophomore out there, does he? Let's see, how many points did Simon have that first half? He had 10, but he really controlled things for the most part and really ran that fast break nicely. And of the 5 first-teamers on the D1 Boys All-State team, 3 of them are underclassmen. Simon's a sophomore. Sander and Hendricks are both juniors. So D1 has a lot of good future ahead of them.
Yeah, and D2 was kind of the same way. Right. We might be seeing the start of a dynasty. A dynasty maybe with Falls City Sacred Heart, kind of a dynasty with Hampton. You know, wouldn't surprise me.
Falls City Sacred Heart with only 2 seniors on their whole team. They've got everybody back from last year, and they've got almost everybody coming back again next year. So Falls City Sacred Heart does look awfully tough.
We'll be back with those halftime statistics right after this. You can't really put a statistic on speed, but that's where Falls City Sacred Heart is winning this game, and we'll be back with those stats right after this.
Here's a look at Steve Simon, number 34 in action for Falls City Sacred Heart, and you can see just how well he leads that fast break, scoring 10 points the first half. Buck Sells, though, leads Falls City Sacred Heart with 13. Matt Kanavi has 5, Raphael Darvo 3, and Rich Holtz, Tom Witt, and Kent Kanavi 2 each for Falls City Sacred Heart. For Maxwell, their leading scorer, Robbie Floody, has 6, Randy Gilson has 5, Tony Miller has 4, and Mike Roberts and Bob Norton 1 each. Now let's look at the team stats here in the first half. For Maxwell, just 17% shooting from the field to 39% for Falls City Sacred Heart. The Irish perfect from the line, 5 for 5. Maxwell 6 out of 8 for 75%, and Falls City Sacred Heart out rebounding Maxwell 25 to 17 in the first half. Maxwell with 10 turnovers to 7 for the Irish. Falls City Sacred Heart jumped out to a 17-10 lead at the quarter, and then outscored Maxwell 20 to 7 in the second quarter to open up a 37-17 lead here at halftime. That's been the biggest lead of the game, 20 points for Falls City Sacred Heart. Unbeaten, number 1 in the D1 ratings, and Maxwell 20-1, losing only one time. That was in overtime to SEM in the 4th game of the year, rated number 5 in one rating and number 6 in the other. Well, the Big 8 semifinal game that just completed in Kansas City saw Missouri beating Kansas State 88 to 83. Earlier today in the other Big 8 semifinal, Oklahoma beat Iowa State by 2 points, so Oklahoma and Missouri will meet for the Big 8 tournament championship tomorrow afternoon. And of course, the NCAA bids as well as NIT bids going out tomorrow afternoon and evening. We'll be back with more from the Bob Devaney Sports Center after this timeout.
Falls City Sacred Heart leads Maxwell 37 to 17 at the half, and with me now, Falls City Sacred Heart coach Doug Goltz. And Doug, you'd think with that kind of lead you'd be extremely happy, and yet the first thing you said to me is, well, our shots aren't really falling.
Well, we're happy with the lead, but like I said, our shots, I think we're a little tired. We're not getting our legs into our shots. Main thing I told them at halftime, though, was that last night they outscored Potter Dix 25 to 7 in the third quarter. So to expect a tough second half from Maxwell.
So you want your kids really to come out tough, though, especially the first couple minutes, and maintain that momentum and things.
Yeah, we need to do what we did against Fairmont. We jumped on them right away in the third quarter to kind of establish the second half, and we need to do that again.
Okay, good luck in the second half, Coach. Thanks for stopping by. And we'll be back with the second half of this D1 State Championship right after this.
Back at the Devaney Sports Center, ready to go with the second half of the Class D1 State Boys Championship. Falls City Sacred Heart leading it by 20. Maxwell will have the ball to start the second half. The Wildcats starting Randy Gilson and Rick Elliott at the guards. Mike Roberts and Robbie Flood at the forwards and Tony Miller at center, just as they started the game. And Falls City Sacred Heart also its same starting five of Tom Witt and Buck Sells at the guards, Matt Kanabe and Rafael Darvo at the forwards, and Steve Simon. Also starting, actually, he's a third forward, really, as they have 3 men on their front line. No one really designated as the starting center. Darvo with the follow shot.
Holy cow, where did that one come from? A left-handed hook.
39-17, 22-point lead, the biggest of the game for Falls City Sacred Heart. Rafael Darvo has 5 points. Elliott, 3-point try. Rebound to Buck Sells. Darvo. And it's blocked, but a foul will be called. Foul will be called on Flood, number 45, Robbie Flood.
This Falls City Sacred Heart team kind of reminds me of like an Oklahoma. They're so fast that they disrupt everything the other team is trying to do. They can overplay on defense, and even if you beat them, somebody's going to come over to help, or they'll run around on the other side and get back. And it's that speed is incredible, the way that they are manhandling Maxwell. And Maxwell on the offensive end, they really can't do anything because there's so much pressure on them always.
We saw Lance Grosset, number 51, come into the game for Maxwell. 6'2" freshman, and he replaces Miller, who has come out here in the second half with his right leg bandaged, and he seems to be running more and more stiff-legged with that right leg, so that injury must really be slowing him down. As Grosset, the freshman, is in there now, and Darvo now has 6 points.
Well, I noticed in the first half that Tony Miller, he never really did run full out. It seemed like maybe his leg was bothering him then, and it looks like maybe he's got, I don't know, some type of lower leg problem. There, the putback. Nice job by Rick Elliott as he fights for his first 2 of the game.
And it's 40-19, Falls City Sacred Heart. And Darvo has come out hot here in the second half. He now has 8 in the game. It's 42-19. 23-point lead for Falls City Sacred Heart, looking every bit the number 1 team in Class D. They've been number 1 in the ratings all year. And the basket will count for the freshman, Lance Grosset. He's fouled. He'll go to the line.
That's really what Maxwell's going to have to do, is try to be as patient as they can. Sacred Heart overplays a lot on defense, and the way to beat an overplay is to try to get back doors. And nice job here inside as Grosset muscles his way in and gets the 2.
Matt Kanabe with the foul. It's his second.
Nice to see a freshman go to the hoop that strong.
He averages almost 5 points a game, or he did coming into the tournament, so Grosset has played a little bit this year. And he now has 3 points.
And I have a feeling he'll play a lot in the years to come.
Buck Sells wide open. 15 points for Sells, and it's 44-22. The Irish have again doubled the score on the Wildcats. Randy Gilson, just a freshman for Maxwell. Nice inside to Robbie Flood. Flood now has 8. 44-24. Witt, Tom Witt, missing the shot, and Gilson with the ball. Oh, stolen away by Witt. Here comes Falls City Sacred Heart, a team that loves to run. Buck Sells, right baseline. Foul on Grosset, I think. It's either on Grosset or Gilson. It'll be Sells, who you see right there at the free throw line.
I've been impressed with Buck Sells in this game. He is looking very good. He's a good aggressive player out there at the guard spot.
It was called on Gilson, number 11 for Maxwell. And so Sells will be at the line for 2 shots. $16 points for Buck Sells. Well, a Falls City Sacred Heart fan stopped by and said to say hello to Claire Schinkel, who is in Bryan Hospital here in Lincoln after giving birth today to their first child. He had been in labor during the Falls City Sacred Heart game last night and is watching from Bryan, as we understand it, this evening. So our best wishes to Claire Schenkel. 45-24, Falls City Sacred Heart leading it by 21 points. Sells almost steals it away. Darvo dives, but Mike Roberts comes up with it for Maxwell. Flood, ooh, looked like he traveled. No call. Flood, and now a foul as the whistle stops play.
That'll be the second on Flood.
Timeout on the court with 5:16 to go in the third quarter, and the score here in the D1 State Championship, Falls City Sacred Heart 45, Maxwell 24. Falls City Sacred Heart on the attack, leading 45-24 with 5:10 to go in the third period. Class D1 State Boys Basketball Championship. Buck Sells, nice pass to Darvo.
One thing that I wanted to hope is it looks like Falls City Sacred Heart has control, that the players don't get selfish, that they don't start thinking, hey, I want to pad my stats a little bit. And that was a nice job there where both Simon and Sells, who are the two big guns on this team so far in this game, gave up a potential nice shot and passed it off, and then Darvo got the layup.
Inside they go to Flood, and Robbie Flood has double figures now, 10 points. And on the other end, Buck Sells, before you can even look up, down there with the fast break basket. Buck Sells has 18 points. It's 49-26.
They go to the Loyola Marymount School of inbounding the ball after a basket, and that's get it up as quick as you can.
You look down for a minute, and Falls City Sacred Heart is running to the basket before you know it. Put back for Mike Roberts of Maxwell. He now has 3 points, and it's 49-28. 4 minutes to go, third quarter. Simon, 3 on 2. And Simon, the rebound to Sells. 3-point try. Simon with the rebound.
Every long rebound, Falls City Sacred Heart gets it. They're just hustling their way to the ball.
49-28. Buck Sells, the dish, the shot. Steve Simon with 2 more. He has 12 now.
Simon, incidentally, was an all-state running back in football for Falls City Sacred Heart. That, too, as just a sophomore. I have a feeling by the time he graduates, he's going to be one of the most decorated athletes in Nebraska high school history. I don't know if I've ever heard of anyone being an all-state or sophomore, junior, and senior year, and I know he's a good high jumper, too. At least not in 2 sports like that.
Kent Kanabe into the game for Falls City Sacred Heart, and Randy Gilson back in for Maxwell. Falls City Sacred Heart lost out in the second round of the state football playoffs this year, but they did make it to the playoffs and then lost in the second round. So they won't be doubling as team champions as Grant and Sutton did in C2 and C1 earlier today. Buck Sells again. Buck Sells has 20 points. And these Irish are just going crazy. 53-28.
And Buck Sells has been playing very unselfishly here in the third quarter. He's had a couple chances where he could have taken nice 10-footers and gave it up for better shots inside.
Rebound to Maxwell, and the putback again for Mike Roberts. He now has 5 points, and it's 53-30. The 23-point lead, again, enjoyed by Falls City Sacred Heart. Simon, and he's fouled, and the basket will count.
That was a great pass by Kent Kanabe that time. Again, had the 15-footer, would have been very legitimate to take it, but instead he gave off to Simon inside, and Steve got the basket underneath and was fouled. If you're 15 feet away and somebody else has a 10-footer, give it up. If you're 10 feet and somebody else has a 2-footer, give it up. And that's what Falls City Sacred Heart is doing right now, playing good basketball.
Jeff Schwang into the game, 6-foot sophomore for Falls City Sacred Heart. And Tom Witt goes out.
Sacred Heart is shooting 8 out of 13 this second half. So their coach wanted them to heat up a bit from the field, and they're doing just that.
Biggest lead of the game, 26 points, 56-30. There's timeout on the court with 2:35 to go in the third quarter, and the score, Falls City Sacred Heart 56, Maxwell 30.
The unselfishness of the Falls City Sacred Heart team. Nice pass, Simon. A better pass by Sells, and the easy hoop by Darvo. You play together like that, and I have a feeling this Falls City Sacred Heart team may win a couple more state championships. It looks like number 2 in a row is getting close to being in the bag.
Talked earlier about speed being such an essential quality for a basketball team or any athletic team, but teamwork is so important too, and that replay really illustrated it for Falls City Sacred Heart. Groseth fighting underneath the Maxwell freshman, and he draws the foul. He'll go to the line for 2 shots as Matt Kanabe picks up the foul. 2:18 to go here, third quarter, Class D1 State Boys Championship. The Class B title game between Pius and Wahoo is coming up after this one, and then Columbus and Millard South, the Class A championship scheduled as the 9 o'clock game tonight. 4 points now for Lance Groseth, the freshman, as Tony Miller, I think, has perhaps seen his last action in this game. The 6'6" senior on the bench with a sore leg, and I'm sure his coach is thinking, being behind as many as they are, there's no sense in risking any further serious injury for Miller. And this will give Lance Groseth some great state tournament finals experience as just a freshman.
He's got a nice shot.
5 points for Groseth, 56-32. Falls City Sacred Heart by 24. Kent Kanabe.
One of the other impressive things with this Sacred Heart team is a couple of their best players are on the bench right now, and yet there doesn't seem to be any difference. They haven't missed a beat.
And no more than did I say that Tony Miller wouldn't come back in. He's now checking back in the game for Maxwell. Tony Miller is coming back in, the 6'6" senior, so after a slight rest, he is coming back in now, and Groseth is going to stay in there. Travis Morrissey goes out for Maxwell. That last foul on Rich Holtz of Falls City Sacred Heart, and it's 58-32. Maxwell on the attack with Miller back in there. He's got the ball, and Miller scores. So leg injury and all, Miller is in there and now has 6 points. It's 58-34. Buck Sells, nice block by Maxwell. Minute and a half to go here in the third quarter. Buck Sells giving Gilson trouble out front. He finally gets it to Mike Roberts, and traveling is called on Miller. Raphael Darvo into the game for Falls City Sacred Heart. Buck Sells goes out with a rest. Sells has 20 points tonight, averaging 13.2 a game coming into the tournament. He'd had 14 in each of the first 2 state tournament games and has 20 tonight. Sells has really been scoring well, and Rich Holtz travels with the ball. So Sacred Heart turns it over, and Maxwell will bring it up facing full court pressure. Minute 14 to go in the third quarter. Falls City Sacred Heart leading at 58-34. Bob Norton and Randy Gilson for Maxwell. Roberts to Miller. And a foul called on the rebound. It's going to be called on Bob Norton of Maxwell.
Bob's only 5'9", but he really got up that time. A good leaper.
And into the bonus now is Falls City Sacred Heart on top of everything else. So now the Irish will go to the other end for free throws. There you see number 12 for Sacred Heart, Adam Preschel, a 5'10" sophomore. Preschel into the game for the first time, and Raphael Darvo goes out. Sacred Heart just loaded with young players.
I have a feeling we'll see the starters as Kanabe makes his first. The starters for Sacred Heart, maybe the first 2-3 minutes of the fourth quarter, and then I think they'll take the rest of the evening off.
Rebound to Sacred Heart, and finally Miller comes down with it. Lead pass down court. Maxwell trying to break to the freshman Groseth. Nice move. 7 points for Groseth. And it's 59-36. 42 seconds to go before the end of the third quarter. Kanabe, left-handed. He's fouled, and it will count. 7 points for Kent Kanabe as Lance Groseth gets the foul.
He's averaging 8.1 a game as a sophomore, and just a lot of talent. Taking that another look. Nice job using the left hand, screening the ball away. I know that Coach Doug Golds at Fall City Sacred Heart says, hey, we've got 12 good players. We have real good scrimmages in practice, and you can see it out on the floor.
8 points for Kent Kanabe. It's 62-36. Again, Fall City Sacred Heart up by 26. That's been the biggest margin of the game. And a foul on the shot. Randy Gilson will go to the line for 2. Must have been on Kent Kanabe.
The state tournament record for D1 most points in a game was Sterling, scored 85 in 1987. If Fall City Sacred Heart goes to town like they have been here in the third quarter, they will break that record.
That last foul was on Jeff Schwang for Sacred Heart. Tom Becker, a 6-foot sophomore, comes into the game for the Irish. So Becker's in there now, another sophomore. Gilson gets one of the two. He now has 6 points, and it's 62-37. Time running out here in the third quarter. Tom Witt. And it's knocked out of bounds by Maxwell. Fall City Sacred Heart will keep it with 15 seconds to go here in the third quarter. The Irish undoubtedly to play for one last shot here. There you see their coach, Doug Goltz, in his third year at Sacred Heart.
He graduated from Sacred Heart in 1981, so kind of went right from college back to his alma mater and has had quite a bit of success. They've only lost 6 games in his 3 years as head coach.
5 seconds, a three-point try. It's good for Tom Witt. And that's the end of the third quarter. The score now in the Class D1 State Boys Championship is Fall City Sacred Heart 65, Maxwell 37. Back at the Devaney Sports Center, Fall City Sacred Heart will start the fourth quarter with a 28-point lead, 65-37. And the Irish will get the ball to start this fourth and final quarter. Darvo, cross court. Most of the starters back in there now. Simon, Sells, Darvo, Witt, and Matt Kanabe. And Miller gets the rebound for Maxwell. Here come the Wildcats. Randy Gilson, the freshman point guard. Nice pass into Miller, but it's knocked away and knocked out of bounds by Miller. So Fall City Sacred Heart will get it. Nice defensive work.
That was a nice job. Fall City Sacred Heart shot 61%, 11 of 18 in that third quarter, 42% for Maxwell.
Darvo with the pass inside to Simon. 17 points for Steve Simon, and it's a 30-point lead, 67-37.
18 away from tying that record for most points scored by one team in a Class D2 state tournament game.
Flood, and he gets the roll. 12 points for Robbie Flood now, and it's 67-39, and Fall City Sacred Heart turns it over.
Most points in a tournament McCool Junction scored 212. Well, Falls City Sacred Heart already almost has that record broken. In fact, they do. They've already gone way past that. I'll add up the numbers here in just a second.
Foul is going to be called on Matt Kanabi.
They've already scored. They scored 80 against Lindsay Holy Family, 81 against Fairmont. They've scored 67 so far in this, so that's 228 points, which is a tournament record for most points throughout the tournament by Falls City Sacred Heart. They can light up the scoreboard.
Randy Gilson for 1 and 1. He won't earn the bonus, and Witt comes down with the rebound for Sacred Heart. Steve Simon, Witt, and Buck Sells. 22 points for Buck Sells, and it's 69-39. Sacred Heart again by 30. Flood. Rebound to Darbo. 6 minutes to go in the game. Buck Sells. Why, these guys just do not slow down. The foul will be called on Miller.
And you gotta love it. They're young, and yet what a nice job of team basketball they play. They help on defense. They look for the open man on offense. Those are fundamentals that I'm sure a lot of these kids have been learning throughout. They must have a good youth program in Falls City, and I know Doug Goltz must be a very good fundamental coach because these kids are strong in that area.
That last foul was on Robbie Flood, not on Miller, but on Robbie Flood. That's the 4th foul on Flood. And Steve Simon now has 18 points.
You know, when I looked at these lineups starting last night, when I was kind of going over it, and I saw, geez, Falls City, no one over 6'2". They could be in a little bit of trouble, as Maxwell has a 6'6" kid, 6'3" kid, but speed is one out over size in this one. And we'll take a timeout with Falls City Sacred Heart leading Maxwell big in the 4th quarter. Another example of the unselfish basketball play of this Falls City Sacred Heart team, as Sells gets it underneath and puts it off the glass and in.
Sells has 22 points. Simon has 19. Rafael Darvo has 10. Maxwell with the ball, trailing 71-39. A 32-point lead. Falls City Sacred Heart has dominated this one all the way. Randy Gilson to Flood. And Flood puts it in. Robbie Flood now with 14 points. 71-41, 5.5 minutes to go in the game. The Class B championship. Pius and Wahoo, the rematch coming up. Rafael Darvo now with 12 points. Sacred Heart just not letting up a bit.
Good job that time by Darvo of finding an open spot on the court. His man had left him to double team, and he went to an open spot on the court. Sells had the presence of mind to get the ball to him. Nice.
Boy, that Steve Simon can really move, and he's just a sophomore. He looks like a college player out there, and he's just a sophomore in high school.
Yeah, he really does. Very athletic. Strong legs. One of those guys I can imagine in football you just hate to tackle, because I'm sure his legs would just keep driving and driving and driving.
75-41, 34-point lead for Sacred Heart. It's going to be 50 straight games now with only 1 loss over the last 2 years.
And only 6 losses over the last 3 years. Oh, Simon made a mistake, dribbled behind his back and let it get away a little.
Buck Sells, and he doesn't get the basket, but he draws the foul.
Sacred Heart now just 10 points away from that single game state tournament record.
How many?
10. 85 is the record by Sterling.
And now Simon goes out of the game. That's probably going to be it for tonight. Steve Simon, 21 points. And what a career this guy has ahead of him in athletics. Travis Morrissey into the game for Maxwell. That last foul was on Lance Groseth. Rick Elliott goes out for Maxwell.
Seems like a really nice kid, too, a hard worker. You never see any grimaces towards his teammates or like he's not getting the ball enough. Just really looks like a nice kid.
Jeff Schwang, number 42 there, into the game for Sacred Heart. And now Tom Witt goes out of the game.
And remember, too, this is a very young Maxwell team as well. They only have 2 seniors that start, 2 seniors who really play. And it's tough for young kids like this to get up against a really good team. You got some nerves going in the Sports Center. You're on TV. And boy, Falls City Sacred Heart went right for the jugular at the start of this game, and they haven't let up.
There's Robbie Flood going to the bench for Maxwell. He scored 14 points tonight, and Kyle May, a 6'1" freshman, is in for him. Maxwell has a lot of young players, too, with a lot of potential ahead of them. 75-41, 4:30 to go in the game. Substitutes are going to play the rest of this one out.
Maxwell.
Randy Gilson, he's just a freshman, too. He was a starter tonight. Here comes Matt Kanabe. 7 points for Kanabe. It's 77-41.
Maxwell probably hoping at this point that either they or Falls City Sacred Heart moves up or down a class next year.
And here's Darvo all the way. Now the wheels have really come off now. 79-41. 38-point lead for Falls City Sacred Heart. Gilson, it goes through, and I think it'll count. Let's see. Looks like a foul on Kent Kanabe, and the basket counts. Basket counts for Randy Gilson. He now has 8 points. And a couple more regulars going to the bench for Sacred Heart. Rafael Darvo, number 22, goes out, and there's Kent Kanabe going to the bench.
And this one may not be very close, but I can just about guarantee the next 2 will be. The Class B game will follow this. Lincoln Pius X and Wahoo, number 1 and 2, all season long, both undefeated. They will battle for the Class B state championship. Incidentally, our guest color commentator for that one will be Rod Felix, the Seward boys basketball coach. That should be fun. And then the game to follow that in Class A, Millard South and Columbus. Millard South, undefeated defending state champions. Columbus, just 1 loss by 2 at Lincoln East. They played a great game in that one. Lincoln East played near perfect to beat them. That should be good. Our guest color commentator in that one will be Tom Hall, the Omaha West Side boys basketball coach.
Tom Becker with the basket for Sacred Heart. And Gilson on the other end hits double figures now with that bucket. He now has 11 points, and it's 81-46. Oh, we saw Matt Kanabe and Rafael Darvo both on the bench for Falls City Sacred Heart going out of the game. The only 2 seniors on the whole team. Buck Sells still in there. 81-46, 2:55 to go in the game. Gilson, cross court to Roberts. Mike Roberts has it blocked. And he is fouled, and the basket will count. 7 points for Roberts, and he'll go to the line to try to complete the 3-point play.
They're still playing hard, Maxwell. They haven't given up by any stretch of the imagination. They're just simply outclassed in this game. That's really all you can say about it.
And now Buck Sells goes to the bench. Sells had 22 points tonight. An outstanding game for Sells, the 6-foot junior. Josh Schleminski comes in for him, a 6-foot freshman.
And more than the 22 points, the thing I liked about Buck Sells, his hustle, pressure defense constantly, and he really passed the ball well. He gave up some good shots when teammates had better shots. And I tell you, any coach would take a basketball player like Buck Sells anytime.
There you saw Matt Barnum, 5'6" junior, coming into the game, making that free throw. Mike Roberts to give him 8 points. And now into the game for Maxwell is Jim Christensen, a 6'2" senior. Christensen replaces Roberts. And it's 81-49, 2:40 to go in the game. Substitutes finishing it up here for Falls City Sacred Heart. The Irish led by 20 at halftime and have been in control the entire game, leading by as many as 38. Timeout on the court with 2:28 to go on the game, and the score is Falls City Sacred Heart 81, Maxwell 49.
Two minutes and 28 seconds left in this one. The Class D1 final, Falls City Sacred Heart, a dominating performance over Maxwell.
It's going to be kind of an adventure keeping track of all these new players into the game.
That's why I let you do the play-by-play of these, Dick.
Shot taken by Maxwell, we'll just say it that way, and the rebound comes down to Sacred Heart. Even the reserves like to run. This time it goes out of bounds off of the freshman Josh Leminski. Now in here for Maxwell is Jim Flood, 5'10" sophomore. Travis Morrissey goes out. We're going out for Sacred Heart, Rich Holtz. And it looks like Matt Bletcher is in for him, 6'3", another freshman for the Irish. Maxwell, Groseth, and the rebound comes down to Sacred Heart. 1:48 to go in the game. 81-49. The rebound comes down to Adam Freschel. 1.5 to go now. The rebound to Sacred Heart. That ball bounced off the heel in exactly the same spot twice. And again, it comes down to Maxwell. Here's Matt Barnum. And Matt Barnum gets in the scorebook for Maxwell, 5'6" junior. Adam Freschel with the shot. Tom Becker with the rebound, but double dribble is called, and Maxwell will bring it up, trailing by 30.
And that call made by Rudy Storr, the official. This will be his last game that he officiates. One of the best officials in the state of Nebraska. Rudy really is a hustler. Watch him there. He'll get into the picture. He beats kids down the floor a lot of time as Rudy calls the foul. And I know that anybody over about 35 will remember Rudy Storr as he played for Nebraska Wesleyan, and a lot of people still say that he's one of the best pure shooters of the basketball that they've ever seen. He was, I believe, was the Nebraska Wesleyan all-time scoring leader till Dana Jansen broke some of his records, wasn't he?
An outstanding athlete in both basketball and baseball at Nebraska Wesleyan.
Yeah, he played some pro baseball too.
Jim Flood with the foul, and it will be Tom Becker at the free throw line for 2 shots. And Tom Becker has 3 points now. It's 82-51 as we are playing out the string in the Class D1 state championship. Apparently a lane violation on Sacred Heart. Shooter crossing the line, and Maxwell will bring it up court. 48 seconds to go, 82-51. Well, Sacred Heart will complete an unbeaten season, go to 26-0. Here's Groseth. And Groseth has 9 points. He's had a good second half. There's a freshman. And a foul is going to be called on Tom Becker for Sacred Heart. Number 40 there.
A big freshman, Matt Bletcher, a 6'3" freshman, and he looks like he might grow a little bit more. I wouldn't be surprised the next few years we might see him up here as maybe a 6'5", 6'6" kid. Maybe the only one, though, who doesn't look like a greyhound on that team. The rest of them so quick and good leapers.
Matt Barnum misses the free throw. 23 seconds to go. Here comes Sacred Heart, and it's thrown out of bounds. Josh Slominski, another freshman, sees the ball going over his head. 20 seconds to go. Maxwell with the basketball. Jim Christensen's shot won't drop. Fletcher with the rebound. Outlet pass. Here's Slominski again at the buzzer, and it doesn't quite go in. That's the end of the game. The Class D1 state championship goes to Falls City Sacred Heart with an 82-53 win over Maxwell. The Irish led it by 20 at halftime, led by as many as 38 in the second half, and Falls City Sacred Heart wins 82-53. We'll be back with more from the Devaney Sports Center right after this timeout. Falls City Sacred Heart winning the Class D1 state championship 82-53 over Maxwell. The individual scoring as the Irish cut down the nets. First of all, for Maxwell, Robbie Flood led the way with 14 points. Randy Gilson had 11, just 2 men in double figures for the Wildcats. Mike Roberts added 8. Tony Miller had 6, playing on a sore leg. Lance Grosset, the freshman, had 9. Rick Elliott had 2. Matt Barnum had 2, and Bob Norton had 1 to account for the Maxwell 53. Now for Falls City Sacred Heart, Buck Sells led the scoring this evening with 22 points. Steve Simon not far behind with 21. Rafael Darbo had 14. 7 for Matt Kanabe. 5 for Tom Witt. 8 for Kent Kanabe. 3 for Tom Becker, and 2 for Rich Holtz. That accounts for the Falls City Sacred Heart 82. Again, Sacred Heart led by 20 at halftime, and the Irish led by as many as 38 in the second half before posting an 82-53 win. Falls City Sacred Heart finishes its season 26-0, and Maxwell, the state runners-up in Class D1, finishing 20-2. But both of these teams are going to have a lot of people coming back in the future. Only 2 seniors on the Falls City Sacred Heart team, and only 2 seniors in the Maxwell starting lineup tonight as well.
Well, and for Falls City Sacred Heart, this is number 2 in a row. I think Clearwater has the record for as 4 in a row, and I think that's a all-class record. I could check that, but I wouldn't be surprised if Falls City Sacred Heart gets back and receives the gold a couple more years in a row with all the good young athletes they have. There's a lot of water to cross between here and there, but they sure have the athletes.
There you see Tony Miller receiving his medal, and now the Maxwell team, the runner-up trophy. Miller with a big wrap and ice on that sore leg of his. That really bothered him tonight. Well, now let's turn it over to Roy Churchill at the PA mic as he announces the winning Falls City Sacred Heart first place medal winners and the trophy presentation.
And now to the champions. First, Coach Doug Gold. We have a special award for you. And now, Coach, hand out the gold medals to your championship team members. We'll introduce them one by one. Number 12, Adam Freschel. Number 20, Josh Slominski. Number 30, Matt Fletcher. Number 32, Rick Holtz. Number 40, Tom Becker. Number 42, Jeff Schwang. Number 44, Kent Kanabe. Number 10, Tom Witt.
It's been 2 years since I've done this.
Number 14, Matt Kanabe. Number 22, Rafael Darbo. Number 24, Buck Sells. Number 34, Steve Simon. There's one piece of hardware left, the 1989 Class D1 High School Basketball Trophy. Come and get it, champ. Congratulations, Falls City Sacred Heart High School.
Falls City Sacred Heart wins the state D1 championship for the second straight year. Again, the final was 82-53 over Maxwell. We'll be back at the Devaney Sports Center after this timeout.
Running down the final statistics of this Class D2 state championship, won easily by Falls City Sacred Heart. Sacred Heart 33 of 74, a very respectable 45%, only 20 field goals for Maxwell. They shot 31%. Free throws just about even. And the rebounds 46 for Sacred Heart, 32 for Maxwell. The turnovers 13-15. The big difference in this one, though, speed and athleticism, as Falls City Sacred Heart had a big edge. And we'll be back to talk with the Falls City Sacred Heart players and coaches right after this.
Back at the Devaney Sports Center, where Falls City Sacred Heart has scored an 82-53 win over Maxwell in the D1 State Boys Championship. Joining us now is Falls City Sacred Heart coach Doug Goltz. A second year in a row and an unbeaten season this time around.
Great feeling. Last year we just wanted to make a good showing at the state tournament, where this year we're ranked number 1 all year preseason. A little bit of pressure to be number 1 all year, but I think the kids did a fantastic job, played with great confidence, great group of kids to work with.
You really dominated this game tonight. It was Falls City Sacred Hearts all the way, really.
Yeah, I didn't think it would be quite like this. I think we had definite, better condition. We didn't tire out. I think maybe they were a little sluggish from 3 days in a row. Got to give a lot of credit to them. They had a good year, good tournament, but I think we did a fine job today.
We wondered out loud during the broadcast where you get all these players. You've only got 2 seniors on the team, and so most of your players coming back again next year.
Well, we've got a good tradition, a good program started down there at Sacred Heart. A lot of the younger kids look up to these boys, want to be like them. It seems like every class has a number of good athletes in it right now. It showed also in football this year. And we're going to miss those 2 seniors quite a bit. Been three-year starters for me at Sacred Heart. But, yeah, we should be tough again next year.
There's no more accurate example either of the athletic tradition at Sacred Heart than yourself. A graduate coming on to coach here and now really coaching the team on to greatness these last 2 years.
Yeah, I can't believe I had to think about it a while on whether I should come back to Sacred Heart. It's been a great 3 years. I really enjoy it. I love being part of the community down there still.
And a great future ahead with all these young players coming back.
Yeah, there shouldn't be much of a drop-off. We do lose some leadership, but that always comes back. So it should be another good year for Sacred Heart next year.
All right, Coach, thanks very much, and congratulations to you and your Sacred Heart team.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, Doug Goltz, the coach for Falls City Sacred Heart, 82-53 winners over Maxwell in the D1 State Championship. We'll be back to talk with the Sacred Heart players after this timeout. Falls City Sacred Heart winning the D1 State Boys Championship 82-53, a second straight state championship for Falls City Sacred Heart. Joining us now is Rafael Darvo, one of 2 seniors on this Falls City Sacred Heart team. Your thoughts about winning it for the second year in a row?
Oh, it's great. After winning the first one, we knew that it's harder to repeat than it is to win that first one. And we knew the teams would be gunning for us, so it's quite a relief to win that second one.
You guys like to run so much. How do you get all that energy for that fast-breaking style that you've got?
Coach runs us a lot in practice. Coach loves to run, and so do we. It's a lot of fun to fast break, keeps the crowd into it, keeps us into it. So we just like to go out there and have some fun.
Let's take a look at the monitor and see a play from earlier in the game. See if you can remember what happened here.
Well, Coach told Buck to go back door, and I saw him. He broke free, and I wasn't sure if that guy was going to collapse on him or not, so I broke in case he needed me. And I was just there, and great assist.
We commented throughout the telecast about the teamwork that you guys have, the unselfishness. You really pass it off nicely.
Yeah, coming into the year, Coach said it can't be a one-man or a two-man team. It's going to take all 12 guys to do it. and we all had the talent, you know, to put it together. So we just like to pass it around and win it together.
And you two seniors going out in style.
Yeah, it's something you always dream about, but you never think it's going to come true. It's just great. Just great.
All right. Well, congratulations to you. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Okay, Rafael Darvo, he had 14 points tonight. Okay, who's next? Oh, boy, without your numbers, I can't remember who you are. Okay, here we've got Kent Kanabe at 8 points tonight. Kent, your thoughts about Falls City Sacred Heart winning the second straight state title?
I think it's real nice, and it's nice to achieve your goals, and that was one of our goals, is to win the state title. We took it one goal at a time. First, the Galaxy Conference, which is a tough conference, has a lot of young teams in it, like Pawnee City, Southeast. They're young. They gave us a lot of good competition that helped us get ready for the districts. And then that was our next goal, was districts, to win that. We had a tough game with Nemaha Valley. They played real well, and it gave us a lot of confidence after we knew we beat a team that good to come into the state tournament. And then that was our next goal, was the state tournament. And that's just something we didn't want to look ahead, but it's always been in the back of our minds that that's what we wanted to do.
Can't take a look at the monitor and watch this action. See if you can remember the play that we have queued up here. Another basket by Sacred Heart, one of the many tonight. You remember what happened there?
Yeah, it was just a great pass from Jeff. It was a real great pass. And I got the ball, and I felt him on the right side, so I just put up my left hand.
It's easy when you get passes like that. You guys really showed some teamwork tonight.
Yeah, that's one of the things our coaches stress. We're a young team, and he really gels us together, and we pass real well, and that's one of our things that makes us go.
All right, well, congratulations to you.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, Sacred Heart winning it. Here next is Tom Witt, the point guard for Sacred Heart. Your thoughts about this second straight state title?
Oh, well, it's pretty exciting. Came out and we wanted to play hard because he didn't want us to think the last game was a championship game, so we just came out and did what the coach wanted us to do.
Guys' pass broke a lot tonight, but look at the monitor. We have a three-point shot that you had in the game. You guys like to hit him from outside, too?
Yeah, well, there wasn't much time left on the clock, and I had been hitting very well, so I decided to take the shot, and I put it up and it went in for me.
All right, well, congratulations to you, Tom.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, Tom Witt. All right, here's Buck Sells. Buck had 22 points tonight. Buck, congratulations. A really fine game tonight. 22 points is what we had you for.
Thanks.
What do you think about winning this second straight state title?
Well, it's really great, but we couldn't have did it without the great leadership of Matt Kanabe and Rafael Darvo. They just been outstanding leaders. We just played team ball the whole year, and it's worked out.
What do you guys think about the future? It looks like you've got unlimited potential with so many young guys coming back, yourself included.
Yeah, Kent Kanabe, our sixth man, and Rich Holtz and Jeff Schwong are on the bench too, and they come off the bench, and they've been playing a lot of ball, and they help us a lot also.
Take a look at the monitor. We have one of your baskets tonight. You had 22 points, another one inside, and you work so well underneath, both shooting and passing.
Yeah, I just been posting up the whole year, and they were running kind of a zone in the middle. It's wide open. It's just working for us real good.
What kind of a season has this been? Undefeated 26-0. This must have been all kinds of fun.
Yeah, we really had a tough conference, and it's gonna be tougher yet because there's a bunch of young teams left, like Pawnee City and like Southeast. All them teams are gonna improve, you know.
All right, well, Buck, congratulations to you.
Thanks.
Okay, Buck Sells with 22 points tonight. And now here's Steve Simon. Steve had 21. Steve, congratulations on winning your second straight state title. We commented throughout the game about your athletic ability and speed. You really look good out there for a sophomore. You've got a lot of potential ahead of you.
Thanks a lot. This whole season's just been different since we've been rated #1 all season long. You know, last year we wanted to come in, just take each game one by one last year. This year we've been thinking state championship. I thought that might have hurt us, but it didn't this year.
Take a look at the monitor. You can see some of the action from the game, if you can remember what happened here.
Well, I think somebody must have stole it, and I threw it to me, and it was wide open, so I just took it in. Mr. Goltz tells me to take it in like that.
You play football too, I understand.
Yeah, I was all-state running back
and
in Class D2.
2 years to go in football and basketball. Steve, good luck in the future.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you very much. And one more. We have Matt Kanabe. Matt, the other senior for Falls City Sacred Heart, congratulations.
Thanks.
You two seniors, Matt, Rafael Darvo and yourself going out in style.
Yeah, it feels great. There was a lot of pressure to repeat this year, and we did it, and it feels great. I'm happy to do it for the team and for the fans and everybody.
What was this season like with all the expectations and high hopes that you had to have carried, having won it last year, too?
We knew that we had to work hard, and that was the bottom line, and we did it. we took each game one at a time, and we tried to improve with each game, and we did. And we had a real tough game last night, and we got through it, and things worked out all right.
Take a look at the monitor. We have a bucket queued up that you made today, and you had a lot of these easy ones.
Yeah, we had some good passes by Buck and Steve. Steve Simon's been our scoring leader all year and the year before that, and it's been great playing with him. He's a great player. It's been great playing with all of them. I'll miss him.
All right, well, congratulations to you. Good luck to you in the future.
Thank you.
Okay, Falls City Sacred Heart, the Class D1 State Boys Champions with an 82-53 win over Maxwell in the state finals tonight. The Class B and A games are yet to go, and we'll be back here at the Devaney Sports Center in just a few minutes.